This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
All right, welcome back to the Lyndsay Stafford Show. Excited to have this guest here today. I have Clinton Holcomb here, who is the owner of the Fontanel Mansion. We'll get into that. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I'm excited for you to hear his story. He is a developer. He's got his hands in a lot of different things. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, he's going to share some really great pieces here with us today. So this episode is brought to you by Stafford Solutions, your non-equity business partner, helping businesses to be more effective, more efficient, and more profitable. Clinton, thanks for being here with us today.
And thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've had a lot of conversation before we hit record. Yeah. So we got about an hour into this now. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about your background and what led you into hospitality development and destination-based experiences.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And that's a very wild journey, my background, right? And so the 60-second version is I was always a serial entrepreneur. Like when I was a kid, when I was 11, I started building computers. A lot of people, I don't get a chance to share this. So I'm actually, cool. I think about my 11-year-old self. I don't remember very much, but I'm kind of proud of that. I was building computers at 11. Yeah. A lot of people were like, how'd you do that? It was just me. It was my life. So I built computers and sold them. And then I started selling computer parts through college. And out of college, I wanted to get involved in real estate. And so I bought some homes that needed to be fixed up. They were really cheap. I scrounged together all the money I had. It was a really actually interesting story too, how I pulled that off. And I had to buy a home that was a fixer-upper. I had no money. And so ultimately, I ended up learning construction work along the way because I had to
fix it.
I had no choice. Yeah. And that was like 06, 07. So, I honestly was not paying that much attention. I was like finishing grad school, not really worried about the economy, and then buying these rundown homes. And so I couldn't get loans. So I built a whole residential construction company. I had 14 employees plus subcontractors. And, I moved on from that to build industrial mixed-use buildings in the oil fields in North Dakota. Ended up acquiring a golf course, some other hospitality venues. And what I kind of found along the way was what I really enjoyed and what kind of was, people were like, well, what's the common thread? And there's two common threads to all of these different businesses. I have a CBD company. So from computer parts to construction to multifamily to industrial buildings to a CBD company, golf course, event venues, boutique hotels now. And so the common thread for me is I like to learn. Mm-hmm. And because I'm always like, they don't seem connected, but there's another connection, which is God. I feel God calls me into my businesses and into my ventures. And so those are kind of things I love to learn. I love new challenges. I love the creativity. It's part of the reason I love Nashville so much. Mm-hmm. There's so much creativity here. And so that's kind of, I don't know how you explain that in a nutshell. I just tell people I'm a serial entrepreneur. Yeah. What really drew me to the Fontanel, though, was its history. Mm. So being from Buffalo, New York, I moved here 5 years ago. And so there's so much history there. And I had a buddy who lived in Buffalo, moved out, moved back. And he was like, you don't really appreciate the history and the amount of historic structures in Buffalo until you leave and come back. And I couldn't resonate with that. When I moved to Nashville, it immediately resonated with me. And so I was looking for an event venue. I wanted a place where I could build more stuff on the property. And I saw the Fontanel and I was like, it's a venue. It's got the history. Mm-hmm. It's unique to Nashville. And, I'm a real, I feel like a native. I feel like they've adopted me, hopefully, at this point.
You've been here for a while.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years is a while, more than some, for sure. Yeah, it's amazing. And I haven't yet to see the Fontanel, but I'm so excited. I've heard one of my dearest friends is raves about how beautiful it is. And I can't wait to get there. And I know we're talking about hosting something there.
Yeah, I'd love to have you host an event out there.
I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So for those who are not familiar, how would you describe the Fontanel today and what makes it such a unique property in Nashville?
Yeah, so, what makes it unique is try to give the really quick history. Again, it's a big journey too. So the Fontanel was built by Barbara Mandrell in the 80s. And she was like the biggest thing in country music. The easiest way for those who don't know who Barbara Mandrell is I explain that she was the Taylor Swift of her generation. Yeah. So imagine if Taylor Swift retired right now, and 40 years from now, you're talking about her. Well, a lot of people in between that 40 years wouldn't know. Sure. But everybody during that time would know of her. So she had her own reality TV show. She had one with her sisters. So she used to have parties there where celebrities would come from all over the country. And there's some posts there, which is pretty cool, that they would sign. So we have Chuck Norris signature on there. All of these singers from her time period. She met a couple of presidents. I thought there was 4 reality TV shows shot in the house. It turns out there's been 6. I found that out last night. So last night we had an event with ACM, and they had Ashley McBryde there. and it was an event to honor women in country music.
Yeah.
And Barbara Mandrell was really kind of like a front runner. She was their first Triple Crown winner. And I didn't realize how many people or how many women in music have been influenced by her.
Yeah.
Even at such a young age, they were influenced when they were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so that history is just massive from her alone. But then you go into the next period, which it was owned by Mark Oswald, and he is I guess a manager and of artists. And so he developed it into a soundstage. So they had a 5,000 person amphitheater in there. Wow. All through the 2000s up until 2018. And so all these bands played him. Charlie Daniels performed there. Kid Rock, Five for Fighting. I mean, any band that was popular in the 2000s performed there.
Wow.
And so a lot of people know the Fontanel from that as well. So they know it from the Barbara Mandrell and her history. They know it from the reality TV shows, and then they know it from the fact that it was a soundstage. And this was kind of pre-Ascend days.
Yeah.
So it was the soundstage.
Wow.
And I meet people all the time who are like, I had some of the best times of my life at that place. And the stories are insane, from a guy who, when John Rich was shooting a reality TV show there, he's like, we used to hang out in that place and party. And, we basically lived in that house. When Kid Rock was building his house, the rumors are that he basically lived in that house because he built the house kind of right behind it.
Oh.
And so it's just so steeped in history.
Yeah.
And so like, for me, being able to kind of be like a steward of that and make sure that it doesn't really end up getting dilapidated. So coming from Buffalo, where a lot of old properties got dilapidated and got torn down, when I saw that place, I realized it was within a few years of having to be torn down because it really hadn't been maintained. The developer who bought the property in 2018 had plans to build a bunch of cabins, and they really didn't have a plan for the actual mansion. And so when I got the place at the beginning of 2023, the mansion really hadn't been maintained well in quite a long time. And so our first thing was kind of to do a restoration project. I call it historic preservation, right? It's trying to preserve what's there, kind of update it. And so we completed that. And now we're open for events, and we host any types of events, weddings, or, anything, networking events, social events. If someone just wants to have a really amazing birthday party or a vow renewal. So right now we're an event venue, and we really are looking specifically to get more music industry events, singer-songwriter nights. So, looking for connections in that industry as being someone who's only been here 5 years, I'm still establishing those connections. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I love the history. I didn't know all of that about the Fontanel, so that's exciting. It has such a rich history, including being the former home of Barbara Mandrell. How does that legacy play into the experience today? So when you think about now that it's restored, how would I experience that going in there today?
Yeah. So a really cool thing, like in restoring it, we didn't change it. So it took me a while because, when you take a property and you take it and you make it a blank slate and say, we're just going to rip out walls and we're just going to put a new floor, we're going to do whatever we want. But that really wasn't what could be done. So it's part of what took me so long. And it was funny. I had some friends who were developers came and they're like, man, you enjoy this? I was like, I actually love this. I actually love restoring and preserving a historic property, but it's a lot of work. If you go and take a new property, you just lay out the plans, you sit with an architect and designer and say, what do we want to do? When you take a property like this, so we're keeping the original lights, we're keeping the original floors, but we're refinishing the floors and trying to update to where when you come in, if you came into that property in the 80s and you came in today, you probably wouldn't feel any different.
Wow.
But they would both feel the time period.
Yeah.
So when I got the property, it felt 80s, but we were able to keep all those elements, but you come in and it feels up to date.
Yeah.
And so that was really the creative part and the challenging part. And that's the part that I really enjoy though. And what kind of draws me to the hospitality industry is being able to kind of take that and preserve all of that. So when you come in, it's like walking into a home, but it's hard to describe the Fontanel until you're there. So people are always like, describe it to me. I'm like, well, it's a 30,000 square foot log home. It was the largest log home in the country when it was built. And it doesn't feel like a log home. Yeah. But if I told you it was a home, you'd get it. But if I told you it was an event venue, you'd be like, I get it. So it's really hard to explain. You got to see it in person. Every time someone comes who hasn't seen it, they're like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, oh, you go ahead and you put it into words.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't. And I'm like, yeah, it's a place you have to see and experience, which is what I love about it. Because to your point, the question is like, how does Barbara Mandrell and her legacy play through that experience? So like her bedroom has a floor to ceiling marble fireplace and we restored it. Wow. Her original bathroom was all marble, walls, floor, white marble. And we restored all of that. And we kept, that. So we kept a lot of the original, and everybody who comes, like we give the tour, right? Because they want to see.
Yeah.
And they go into like her closet alone. I mean, her closet is like, it's the size of an apartment that I lived in years ago, which isn't saying a lot, but I mean, you got a 600 square foot closet.
Yeah.
Like it's a room. You put a queen bed in there, like,
Jeez.
you know, and then the bathroom's almost the same size, right? And so, you know, she was a big star, and that's probably modest actually for what probably people have nowadays. But at the time, that was massive, and it's super cool. Like, so you can't. I mean, she's still there, right? Her essence is still there. I mean, this place was designed and built around her. There's like a cool balcony in the living room, which we call the great room, and it's like I was told it's kind of where she would enter, and it overlooks the great room. And this place is built for small, intimate song performances. Like when we had Ashley McBride last night, we had 150 people there. It was like seeing, and she sang one of Barbara's songs, Country Before Country Was Cool, right? And it was kind of like just kind of seeing that. For me, being there was surreal. It's kind of like seeing that moment, and I could kind of see how Barbara, in her day, when she was it, and everybody came to see her, probably performing for her friends in the industry and her family. So yeah, it's there. I mean, she's there. Like, you know,
Cool.
These pillars that have all these people's names, that's because of her. I mean, the Fontanel is the Fontanel because of her. She named it the Fontanel.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, like she came up with that. So you can't separate the legacy of Barbara from the
You're
property.
doing such a good job painting the picture of it. Like, I know I haven't seen it yet, but I'm envisioning it based on what you're describing. You clearly are so passionate about the restoration and preservation. I'm excited to see it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. What goes into operating and evolving a property that serves as both a wedding venue and a large-scale event destination? Because that is really what I'm wondering now.
Well, that's a good question. You know, I think that success in the event industry takes a good team. Like, I mean, that's like 90% of the battle, right? You have development and what we just talked about, right? Preservation, and then you have telling the story, and then running it. Though, I mean, it's events. So you think about events. You know, everyone in Nashville is familiar with, you know, events because we're Music City, right? And weddings and events that you put on are very similar, especially when they're high profile events like last night's event. You know, everyone's scrambling to have everything just right up until the minute of the event, right? And it was funny. I was talking to one of my staff, and they were kind of newer, and I was like, "This is just how it goes." And they were like, "I was like, nothing's ever perfect enough. Like you're always figuring out, is this detail right? Is that detail right?" And so I think that, like, for me, it's trying to, every time that we see that, capture it and fix it and update it so that the next time it's one thing we don't have to do the day of. And so for me, I like to be actively involved when I launch a property so that I'm actually seeing all of these things and getting them right and seeing what the customers, the guests love. So like I went last night and I asked the guests like, "Hey, like, what do you think?" And they don't know who I am, right?
Yeah.
And they're telling me, and I'm just taking their feedback because I don't want them to know who I am. I don't want
Right.
them to flatter me. I want them to tell me the truth, what they like or what they don't like, so we can make it better for the next event.
Yeah.
And so I think that part of what goes into running an event venue well is not assuming that you nailed it. Because the minute you do that, someone's going to come and do it better.
Isn't that true in all business though? If you put your ego aside and just say, we were just talking about this with Kyle. Like if you just put your ego aside and say, I can always improve. I can always do better. And you're open to that.
Yeah.
You're going to continue to get better. You can't be successful if you don't take feedback.
Yeah. And I think also with I guess, running a venue is like, you're not running it for yourself, right? So this is an interesting thing. Like some businesses, you know, are about you. They're coming for you. No one's coming there for me, right?
Sure.
And so, you know, I have to keep that in mind. People don't go to my venues for me. It's not about what I like in design. It's not about how I want an event. It's not about what I feel. It's about what the guest feels, right?
Yeah.
And the host. And like, so I try to instill that with my company is that, you know, we exist to make moments that matter. And if we lose sight of that, if we put anything else in there, like, you know, if you have an event with us, I want it to be a moment that mattered for you and for your guests. I want people to come and have an experience where they're like, that was unique. I'll remember this.
Yeah.
And so keeping Barbara's legacy foremost is, I think, very helpful to that, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a beautiful property. It's not just a great event with great food and, you know, all the details taken care of, but it's also to get to learn and understand this history that's, I believe, really important to Nashville's history.
Yeah.
Like when we look forward, you know, 20 years, what I tell people, I I'm only a steward of the Fontanel. The reason is it's going to outlive both of us. I mean, it should, hopefully. If I do my job right, outlive both of us.
Right, it should.
And then someone else will own it. And they'll be the steward of the next generation of the Fontanel. And so, as being a steward for it for a season, for me, it's really important that it's back in the public domain. It was closed for like so many years. And having people in Nashville, whether it's people who experienced it before or people who are new to Nashville, be able to come and experience it again. Because I think we don't have a lot of properties left with that amount of history. And a lot of those properties you can't go to unless you're going for a really large show, or if you're somebody special. And we're seeing a lot of that stuff being torn down or changed. We look at Broadway, right? The real estate's so valuable there. They want to tear those down and build skyscrapers. And so they're remodeling, they're keeping the facades, but totally changing the interior. So when we look back in 20 years, there's not going to be much stuff left that is truly
real history.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Preserved.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love historical properties and the architecture and just all the details. I love, I spent 20 years in retail. So I have this love for aesthetics and, how things flow and how they look. And we were talking about this earlier, that I can walk into sadly, it's happened many times where I've looked at a business and walked in and been like, this is going to close. Like they're just not doing it right. And that's my retail background. So I love your mission so much. So when you think about, how do you think about positioning the Fontanel within Nashville's growing tourism and live entertainment scene?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And, I'm not steeped in the music industry, so I'm learning, right? And so I'm looking to establish more connections in that industry. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that it would be really good for doing singer-songwriter nights. And actually, Ashley McBride mentioned last night, she was like, this would be a really amazing place for a writer's retreat. I'm like, yes. Yeah. That's what needs to happen. Now, I need the people that do that.
Now, who can you introduce me to, Ashley?
Exactly. So it's one of those things where, to me, of course, it's a beautiful space to get married. It's a beautiful space to hold any sort of event. So I think there's kind of these two tracks in you now, that there's like other events that are anything outside of the music industry. Then you have this whole bucket of music industry events that I really want to grow, because I want to continue to keep that legacy burning and alive. And so, the starting point is those singer-songwriter nights, or like we did last night. That was a great event. And just putting ourselves out there that, hey, we're actively looking to host and make historic moments here. Yeah. Because there's been so many historic moments there. And so we want to keep that alive. And so how do we do that? It's networking, right? It's getting the word out. It's coming here and telling people that, hey, this is the vision for the property. And so if you're someone in the industry, or if you know someone in the industry, like, have them reach out to us, because we have a heart for really making a space for people in the industry to come and have events.
I love that. So my next question, how important is it? I already sort of know what you're going to say here, but how important is creating a full experience, events, atmosphere, environment, versus just offering a venue? And just based on our conversations, both today and prior to today, I kind of already know where you're going to go with that, but I'm excited to hear your answer.
Yeah, well, and I think that's it. I think that's the thing, right? So you can have all the history in the world, right? You can have the most beautiful property in the world, and you could have the greatest service. But if you don't put those things together in the right way, then you don't end up with an experience, right? Yeah. I always tell people, this is a little crude, but it's funny. Not all experiences are the same, in the sense of, like, I can give you an experience real fast. I can shoot you in the foot and you will have an experience, I promise. but it doesn't mean it's a good experience.
Right.
So I always think that, like, you're not just aiming to have an experience, you're actually aiming to have a unique experience. And this is why we aim to make moments that matter, because the way I explain it is that, like, our lives, if you think about your life, this is a really cool thing for people to do. I say our lives are lived in our highlight reels. That's how we remember our lives, are the 8 to 15 best moments of our lives. And those moments change over time. And so then the question becomes, what moments will you remember, right? Because, obviously when you're 30, you have this much history. And then you get to 40, you have this much history. And you have to replace some of those moments with the moments that happened in your 30s, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're only going to have so many moments that we really remember and tell those stories forever. And so can we make something like that for people, right? Like, can we make a space where people come and hopefully see Ashley McBride and are in Barbara's house? And we had some other aspiring singers there, young women who are aspiring to be country singers, and they're working on their careers. And is that a pivotal moment for them that maybe, they go back to?
This is on their highlight. It lives there.
right?
Yeah.
So this is really like what we ascribe to do, whether it's someone's wedding, whether it's, the event we discussed with you guys, like, can we, so I throw out ideas, we're going earlier before we started recording about some ideas for this event. It's because I actually genuinely want to see that event be something that you look at and are like, that event 5 years ago literally changed the course of what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And people like, I know it's a lofty ideal, but if we don't have ideals, if we don't have standards, we never reach anything, right?
Yeah.
And
so the best visionaries have these crazy high standards and big ideas, and then you make it all come together.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it really goes back to your question earlier about like, what really got me to hospitality and what do I enjoy about it? And that's really what I enjoy about it, right? My vision is to continue to move towards that very experiential type. So the previous owners of the property got approved for 135 cabins, and we still intend to build those. And so we tend to kind of build kind of like Southall, Blackberry Farms, kind of like our own version of that experience on premise. But
with so much history.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like when you go to those sorts of properties, you have an opportunity. If you go to Blackberry Farms, you go to some others, like if you've ever been to Serenbe, I love Serenbe. It's really cool. It's actually my favorite. And so if you go to, when I go to those places, what I do is I'm always analyzing how I feel, what the experience, I do that everywhere I go, but particularly with places like that where we aspire to be. How do you feel when you check in? How do you feel when you're on premise? All of these sorts of things, because part of the experience is the feeling you're left with. So you think about nostalgia, right? This is really esoteric, and I'm almost done with this thought because I love living in this space, right? Like, where does nostalgia come from? Like, when you walk into a place and you have a memory from childhood, what was it? Was it the smell? Was it the sight? Was it the wallpaper? I remember the wallpaper in my grandma and grandpa's home.
Me too.
Yeah, and I remember the wallpaper. I have no idea I remember this wallpaper, but I remember there was something about that wallpaper I liked as a child. So was it you walk into a room, was it the wallpaper? And how do you, as someone who's trying to create these spaces where people have these moments, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy. That's why I agonize over the design. People are like, you're so slow with the design stuff. I'm like, but I want to get it just
It's so intentional.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want it to be just right. And so I don't know the answer. I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers, but these are the creative things, the learning things would draw me to the industry because that never ends. Like, when I was in construction and doing construction and running a construction company, you kind of learn a skill set and then it's built the same over and over. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's great to systematize and great businesses are built that way. But I really love the element of like when I walk into something, you're like, hey, we've got to figure out how this is going to resonate with people when they walk in the door. And so that is harder to repeat.
Right.
Because if you cookie cutter it, eventually people feel it. They can't verbalize it, but they can feel it in their soul when they walk in and they're just like, it's nice, but it's not it.
Yeah.
And so how do you make it? And so anyways, I'm not pretending that I have it or I can do it, but I will say that the Fontanel has that. And, I was gifted to be able to steward that and add a little bit to it, right?
Yeah. Leave it better than you found it.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a property in Destin called the Henderson Hotel. And it's one of the, it's a salamander hotel, which I didn't know anything about them until, this has been years since I've been there, but salamander hotels, each one is like, and I don't work for them. I don't,
No, you're
this
good.
is just
I
what I
yeah.
remember about my experience, that when I looked into it, each one is like very unique. So it's not a cookie cutter. You go to a Marriott or a
Right.
Westin, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
A Westin, the smell's going to be the same. The beds are the same. In fact, I have a Westin bed because we loved sleeping on them so much when I traveled a lot that I was like, all right, I'll just get that and have it at home. But the salamander hotels, each one is going to be beautifully unique. And it doesn't feel cookie cutter. And the Henderson is probably one of my favorite places I've ever stayed. Took my mom. She'll say it's her favorite hotel she's ever stayed at. Favorite. It's like a resort. But I can hear what you're saying is like when I look at a place like the Henderson, which is not a historic place, they just took that different approach of, yes, every room is going to have the same things in it because they're hotel rooms and we built them that way. But every corner looks a little different. There's little unique touches everywhere. And that to me feels so different than going to a Westin or a Marriott. And those are great hotels. I stay at those all the time. But it's a unique experience that you remember, like we're talking about. It's those details. So the details really do matter when you're trying to create the experience, their nostalgia.
Yeah. No, the details are super important because you don't know which one of those details,
it's going to be the one.
Yes, exactly. But it's generally not going to be the cookie cutter commercial thing that everybody's doing. It's generally not going to be it,
Something different.
Yeah. And so these are the types of things that I study. And like people are like, what do you read? I'm like, I read weird stuff.
It depends on what I'm into at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I read all of it.
Yeah.
And people are like, all of it, like anything.
Yeah.
And like, because I think that like when we expose ourselves to these things, we're able to bring them kind of in. So things that are from different industries. So having been kind of, I was out in the oil fields in North Dakota building, industrial mixed use buildings, right? And, around roughnecks, right? And so just some really cool stories, like, may not be cool to people, but, living in an RV when it was negative for 30 days in a row and there's a 1/4 inch of frost on the window.
Yeah, that's not cool to me.
I love it. Like, and I didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
But, I like those experiences. And so my idea of experience is different than others. It's a little bit more hardcore. Like we were doing cell phone towers. I took like this job. We had a commercial construction company and they were literally out in the middle of nowhere. So there's no hotels. So like we slept in like a Suburban with my crew overnight to just get it done. And like, and people are like, that's crazy. I'm like, but that's an experience. I may not be the experience you're looking for.
Yeah.
But so when I say I'm into experience, I truly am into like, I want to experience life as other people experience it. I want to understand how their experience is. Right. And then I want to be able to bring some of that stuff back. And so for me, experience doesn't need to be what other people need. I'll find experience in anything. My kids call us the adventure family. Because I'll just tell them sometimes, I'll just be like, all right, kids, we're going someplace like where? Like, I don't even know yet.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to start driving and go. Yeah. And we always have these crazy fun adventures and have this different experience and meet people and go here and do that. And like, as a business person who's structured, and my life's very structured, it has to be to run all these companies. But I love those days when I'm like, there's no plan. We're going to go where the wind blows us. And we're going to experience whatever there is out there to experience. And so part of my idea is to be able to create kind of space like that. That's why I'm really excited about the cabins, that you can come and stay on site. When you come for an event, you follow the structure of that event and you have limited time to just explore. When you come and stay at a place, you have that opportunity to just explore. And so I think that we miss that a lot in some of our hotels that we have because they're only thinking about it being a place to stay, but that's not what I'm thinking about.
Exactly. It's the difference like I'm talking about with the Henderson versus like a Westin.
Yes.
Yeah, they all have bars and a restaurant you can eat in, but it's not about that. It's about the ambiance and the grounds and
all those details. So a really cool thing at the Fontanel is when you come into the atrium, the entryway, there's a really big wall. It's got like 30-foot tall ceiling, and this wall was just painted like, I don't know, some sort of a green color. And so I had a vision to create an impressionist painting on there. And so I found someone local and commissioned them. And I had this vision. And then her and I sat there and worked it out together over 2 weeks.
Wow.
And made it in a way. So most people walk in, they miss it because it's an impressionist painting. It's very faint. So they walk in, they don't know what's there, which is what I love this actually. Until I tell them to stand back at the door and look at it. And I explain it. And they're like, oh, wow, I didn't see that. And it's just so intentional. Like I wanted reeds. So it's like a lake with some mountains in the background, but then it kind of blends out to where you could just lose it. And most people just lose it because it's very faint. It's white, it's gray, it's just a couple of tones. But when I explain it, you see it. And then we put some follies in there. So follies are just like fun little things that you can look for. A lighthouse, a duck. Yeah. There's like 10 of them in there. So you could just sit there for 2-3 hours trying to find these things.
Cool.
And so it's just a fun little thing like that. And even like some plants that I found plants that look like reeds. And we put live plants in front of it, and then we put them in the impressionist painting behind it. So it's idea of like, and there's 2 staircases going up. So this idea you can like walk into this lake and go from the present and walk into this painting. And so anyways, for me,
I can't believe you got someone to bring that to life.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. We went back, it's a lot of details. But that to me is like what I look forward to doing in these projects. But
you have to be a really good communicator, Clinton, to be able to get someone to bring your vision to life. I mean, it's hard when you are a visionary. A lot can get lost in translation.
Yes.
So to be able to share that level of detail with somebody and have them execute it, that takes a lot of work.
Usually, I'm shoulder to shoulder with them. Sometimes with the tools, actually, it's helpful in my construction background because I can pick up the tools and be like, I mean, like this.
Yeah.
Like, does that work? They're like, oh, you can do it. I'm like, I'm good enough to be dangerous, but I'm not an expert.
I'm not good. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to do it. Well, I'm going to ask you one more question today. What excites you most about the future of the Fontanel and how people will experience it moving forward?
Oh, that's a good question. What excites me most is I think that as we continue to progress as in Nashville, when we continue to build more and more, that we talked about earlier, there's just going to be so few places where you kind of have that history. And as we get into building the cabins and the next phase of the project, I have a vision for this restaurant, and all of these musicians that played there, they're not really represented in the Fontanel Mansion itself. They're more represented at the soundstage. So this is a 118-acre property. And so from the front to the back, it's a mile.
Wow.
And so at the front, you have the soundstage where they all performed. And in the back, you have the mansion. And that was kind of like the backstage. They hung out there, the bands did and stuff. But where the stage is, what I want to do is I want to build a building over it. And I want to put the restaurant on the stage. And then I want to take posters from all of these bands and put them all over all of the walls. And so that you can come in and literally sit where all of these famous bands performed and eat and look at their posters from, that time period, and really kind of have this nostalgic experience, especially for all of those who have been to shows there. I mean, I had a guy come up to me a month ago, and he's around my age, and he was profusely thanking me for preserving the place. And he's just like, you don't know how important it is to Nashville. I'm like, no, I know. It's super important.
That's why I'm doing it.
That's why I'm doing it. And so that's what excites me about it, is to be able to get people back in that have all these positive memories and build their next memory.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a whole generation of people who have moved to Nashville who aren't aware, and they hear from friends, and like to get them into experience. So what excites me is looking back in 5 or 10 years when we have a whole nother, generation of people who have come through there and have these amazing memories, right? And even visitors, with the cabins, being able to get people to stay overnight that are coming into town and getting them to experience the history and understand Barbara Mandrell's legacy, and even the Fontanel. And kind of, I look at the Fontanel, and again, I think very esoteric. I look at the Fontanel, when I got it, I'm like, what is this place? And the way I envision it in my mind is that it is one of the few things that kind of stands, and it represents Nashville exactly where it is, right? Like, it's always been through these different phases of Nashville. As country music really blew up in the 80s, the Fontanel was the place. Barbara Mandrell was the singer. Like, all of the parties there, people were going there. And then as, you go into Nashville's next stage and amphitheaters, it was like the kind of first real big amphitheater, right? And now you have a Sen, right? And they saw, wow, look at the success. We could build something really big here. And so now as we go to this kind of tourism industry and we talk about experiences, hopefully we can put that as kind of like the first place in Nashville to really provide this high level experience that blends the history and the experience for local people and for those who are coming from out of town. And I see it as a property that continues to evolve with Nashville itself. And it kind of holds the tension of the past with the tension of the future. Like, there's so much tension in Nashville right now, right? Between like, we don't want to lose who we were, but we are becoming somebody different. And how do we, how does that tension play out, right? And we're going to find out in 10 years. But I feel like the Fontanel is one of those places that has always kind of held the tension of the past and also pulled it into the future. And I feel like I want to continue to allow it to be one of those places. That's the vision.
I love that. I love it so much. I can't wait to see it. You have gotten me so excited. Clinton, thank you for joining today. This was awesome to be educated and hear what you're doing, the why behind it, your passion for it. Where can people find you?
So actually, if you just go to our website, fontanelestate.com, we're on Facebook, we're on social media. I mean, you can find me on there as well. Yeah. You contact us through the website. This is like, the Fontanel is my baby right now. So like, anyone who contacts the Fontanel, I'm there like every day.
Yeah.
Like, I really have a passion, for this place. So, if you come out to an event, you're going to probably see me. Like, I like to be around. It's just such a special place.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you want to contact me, you can literally just contact us on the contact page and just be like, hey, I'm looking to reach Clint.
Yeah.
Like,
and you'll call him.
Yeah, exactly.
I think with the night that we talked before this, it was like maybe 7:30 or 8:30 at night, maybe later. And you were leaving there, I think. And you called me on your way back.
Yeah. I left there like 10 o'clock last night. I'll be there at 10 o'clock tonight. Yeah. Like, I'm all in on the Fontanel. You're all in.
Like, I can't wait to see it and to host something there. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Clinton, thank you for being here with us today.
It's an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, to the Lyndsay Stafford Show. If you found value in this, if you enjoyed it, well, share it, of course. Like, share, comment, rate, review, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.